It's time for Wave 3 Listens Live on Kentuckiana's first live local TV talk show, all hosted by John Ramsey. This is Wave 3 Listens Live.
And welcome to Wave 3 Listens Live. Once again, we have a jam-packed show today. Get ready to call 571-5263 because Dr. Eli Karam is in the house. If you have an issue with your spouse, a family member, an in-law, whatever the case may be, hey, it's common. It happens to all of us. 571-5263. Give us a buzz. Also on today's show, we're going to give away some James Taylor tickets. As you may know, he is a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Songwriters Hall of Fame as well. You can win those tickets coming up shortly. And my friend Ben from American Senior Communities is here. We're going to talk a little bit about the cottage. All right, Dr. Eli Karam is here, one of my favorite guests. This is reality television at its best. The Kentucky Association of Marriage and Family Therapists. These are qualified professionals, and it's not just as simple as a marriage counselor, is it, doctor?
No, it's not. So marriage and family therapists, as we tell you each and every week on the show, are trained to see people through strength and health in their whole systemic context. So what does that mean? They're going to think about you, what it's like for you at home, at work, with your significant relationships, whether it be your family that you grew up in, your family of origin, your friendships. And you don't necessarily have to be in a relationship to see a marriage and family therapist. In fact, about nationwide, 50% of marriage and family therapists, or LMFTs, licensed marriage and family therapists, they see individuals for these relational issues. So whether you're partnered or not partnered in a relationship or not, or figuring out how to be in one or what went wrong in the one you just ended, marriage and family therapists are going to treat you in this whole relational context. And there's 400 of them in Kentucky that are licensed marriage and family therapists. There you see the kmft.org website. There you're going to get a lot of consumer news, including many of our past installments over the past 2 years here on Listens. And you can also check out us on Facebook, and then there's the Therapist Locator. So if you call in today, you have a question, or you listen to what we talk about today, and you say, I would like to see a marriage and family therapist. I've kind of had a stigma against it, but after listening to this, I think I want to try it. You go to therapistlocator.net. You click on that rectangular box. You put in your zip code, and then you will get a list of therapists in your areas. Many of them have websites. They all have profiles. You can call and get to know the therapist. Any marriage and family therapist should be able to talk to you, John, for about 5 minutes on the phone, and you or your partner or your family member can decide if you want to come in.
You know, it seems to me as American families become more complex, your job, I would think, would become more complex. We have blended families, we have in-laws, we have, former spouses, et cetera, ex-wives, ex-husbands. It goes on and on. 571-5263, and believe me, we all could really probably use a professional like yourself.
Yeah, there's lots of different type of family configurations. And also this time of year, we have a couple of things. The holidays are getting ready, so people are thinking holidays can be good stress or sometimes bad stress. So a lot of people will call as they get ready to travel for Thanksgiving, or have people to their house, or see family members, that they're not so comfortable around. They need a kind of a battle plan, or
that's a good way of putting it.
Right.
Not so comfortable around.
That's right.
I love it. You are a pro.
They are also, if you really love your family, but you're married to someone who really loves your family too, and you have to decide how to divide that up. And for a lot of young couples, that is difficult. And also, it's kind of nasty out there today. It's getting cold. You'll see a lot of this seasonal effect of people that are generally in good spirits, but around this time of year, the climate has an effect on them, and certainly that impacts their relationships. So marriage and family therapists are going to work with a lot of people like that as well.
Good point. Very comprehensive. Let's go to the phones and talk to Ann, who is with us now. Ann, good afternoon, and welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. How are you doing?
Hi, Ann. What's your question?
Well, I have gone through some counseling in the past, and I'm having a hard time finding someone that helps treat post-traumatic stress disorder. And I go and I think I'm going to be okay with this person, and you're talking to them, and then all of a sudden they get on the computer or pick up their cell phone, and you're like, I'm here. I'm not on your phone. And it's so disheartening because you want them to be listening to you and participating in this. I mean, you're paying this person, and then they're just like, it's really rude. So I'm just having a hard time finding someone that actually cares.
Great
and
question,
listens.
Ann. So how can you find someone? So what you can do, as I just said a second ago, you can go on that therapist locator, and then you'll see a list of people. When you call, you should say, I have been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. What experience do you have in working with that? Now, many marriage and family therapists, again, as I said, just as they see couples, they're also trained to diagnose and work with many mental disorders or conditions, including PTSD. And obviously, PTSD has a large relational component, because if you're living with your family or your spouse or your kids and you have these symptoms and they don't know kind of how to respond or how to work with you, it can create a big problem in the whole family. So you want to ask the therapist, what is your training in PTSD? And the most common treatment for PTSD is what we call CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy. So you want to find a cognitive behavioral therapist that kind of understands PTSD both alone and the impact on the relationships. And certainly you bring up another point that people are kind of burned out. They said, we've had a bad experience. Maybe you've gone to someone or some place, someone that was not licensed or not a good experience. So obviously what you described is very disheartening and certainly not common among licensed professionals, unless you're looking at something together on the internet or the phone. But yeah, a therapist is going to be there for you. Their job is to form an alliance, understand what is going on from your point of view, and then kind of coach you in the skills you need to kind of move past these blocks. So you can generally figure that out by making a phone call. And also, many times, as I said, not only will people talk to you, a first session is always a chance to feel the therapist out. And if you don't feel like it's a good fit, you're bound past the first session to see a licensed marriage and family therapist. So sometimes you have to try a few before you find your fit. So I'm sorry that happened to you, but I hope you will try again. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you very much, Ann. All right, licensed marriage and family therapist Eli Karam is with us. Dr. Eli Karam, if you'd like to call us. John is on hold. You can be on hold as well, and it won't be but a couple of minutes. We'll be right back on Wave 3 Listens.
Mic check.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome back to Wave 3 Listens. We're talking to licensed marriage and family therapist, Dr. Eli Karam. 5715263. If you have an issue in your family, you can change your name to protect the innocent if you'd like. Dr. Karam is very good at this. I love having him on the show. Good advice. I'm taking notes. Let's go to John first. John, welcome to the show, and good afternoon to you.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, John, go ahead.
I got a question. I have a girlfriend. I've been in a relationship for about a year now. I can't seem to do enough. It's always, you need to do more. You need to do more for me. More for me, more for me. What do I do about this?
Yeah, so you're in a relationship. And do you love this person?
I'm getting there.
You're getting there, yeah.
But with all the demands she has, it's getting a little difficult.
Yeah, well, and also have you, sometimes when we receive feedback from a partner, it's like, it's kind of jarring because we haven't heard that from somebody else. But then sometimes, John, we hear, what our partner is telling us. We are also hearing from our family, from our friends. So is what she's telling you consistent, what you're hearing from other people, or is it the first time you've ever gotten this kind of feedback?
I'm baffled on the question that you asked me. This is probably my first relationship. I'm an older gentleman. Mm-hmm. I'm 54, and I've been more than kind. Mm-hmm. And it bothers me that she's asking for more and more and more and more and more.
Yeah. So some people, I appreciate that, and I don't think 54 is that old, but certainly if your partner enters a relationship, so it's still a fairly new relationship, about a year, and depending on what their blueprint is, what other relationships they've had, they have certain expectations or norms about a relationship is. And if you've had very different types of relationships, you know, your expectations may be very different. So a lot of couples in this kind of phase, you know, after the honeymoon is kind of over and they get into the real nuts and bolts of the relationship, they have to have a talk about, you know, what those expectations are. So a lot of times they're hidden, and you got to make that clear as far as what you expect and what your partner expects. Now sometimes things are changeable, and if it obviously is a bad habit or something that her feedback that you say, hey, well, man, maybe I should change that. Well, by all means change it, but you never want to change something if you like who you are, as far as the core of who you are. To try to change that for a partner is sometimes a losing proposition, in the sense that if we kind of change who we are, the core of ourselves, we feel like we're kind of giving up something. And then if our partner is still not happy or still not satisfied, then what happens is the other person usually gets resentful, in that case you. So I think it's good to kind of talk to her about your expectations and see what hers are, and change what's changeable. And then the other skill is to learn to accept or tolerance. Most couples think, oh, wait, got a problem solved, change everything. Some problems aren't solvable. They take tolerance and acceptance, as we've said on the show many times. So a marriage and family therapist could certainly help you, John, and also would balance it out. So if you feel like your partner is always right and you feel like you're the one that's always wrong, marriage and family therapist is going to work with you to give, you know, I've never seen any relationship where one person is 100% of the blame. Marriage and family therapist will help you come with a kind of balanced view on your cycle. When you do this, your partner does that. And each person, to really get better, has to take accountability for their part in the cycle and learn to do something different. So it wouldn't be a gang attack on John. It would be a more balanced representation. So by all means, I'd encourage you to try that out. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the call, John. I do not like gang attacks on John.
Right.
I don't like that at all. Let's go to Jennifer. Jennifer, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. You have Dr. Eli.
Hi. I'm a bipolar manic depressive. It was high anxiety, new therapist that's wanting to diagnose me with PTSD. My thing, she's also saying I need to have a mood stabilizer. My primary has always done my psych meds. Mm-hmm. Any suggestions on?
Yeah, is this your therapist, is this a MD or a, what letters do they have after that?
She is the licensed family therapist. Okay,
she's an LMFT. So LMFTs, while they can diagnose, certainly, and perhaps there's part of your story that you've told her or in your report, your symptoms that remind her of PTSD, like the first caller in the last segment. But the reality is, if you have been diagnosed with bipolar, there is a huge, obviously, biological component to bipolar, and you cannot be yourself. You can't even do the talk therapy with the LMFT unless you're properly medicated. So do you have a sense of when the medication is right for you, and do you take your meds? Because a lot of people that are manic depressives that go between the extreme highs and the low lows, well, they like the highs. So sometimes they will stop taking their meds when they're on the highs, which really imbalances the whole person. So it's very hard to be in a relationship, much less do therapy, if you're not, you know, properly medicated when you have bipolar. So do you feel like you have a proper medication for that?
Yeah, I very regularly take my meds. My husband is making sure I'm on top of it every day.
Good.
So that's not the issue.
Good.
The issue is I'm afraid of the change.
Yeah, so it's a new therapist. So one thing you can ask, and in any, as we said in the last call, is building an alliance with the therapist. And you can get a good feeling, usually from the beginning, but it takes time to build a relationship. So if you're concerned about any part of the therapy or how it's structured, you should be able to bring that up to the therapist. And that would actually be seen as a good thing. The therapist wants to understand and make you comfortable, or you're not going to be able to do the work. So for a lot of people, people, diagnoses are really helpful. They give finally a name to a way they've been feeling and experiencing, and with the diagnoses we have, the more specific, sometimes there's really specific ways to treat, like PTSD. If that is indeed what you have, there is really a specific way of working in this trauma-focused cognitive behavioral way that we know through kind of science and through clinical wisdom is really effective. So you can ask her why she came up with that diagnosis, and she should be able to talk with you. And again, if it's not a diagnosis that fits with you, then you don't need a diagnosis to do good talk therapy. You need a plan. You need belief in yourself and the therapist to kind of teach you these skills to move you along the way. But I would, it sounds like it's also you're kind of shifting to this new therapist after being with this primary care physician for a while. So I think it would be fine and actually a good thing if you talked about that shift and that kind of anxiety that comes with switching to a new person. So I appreciate your call. It's a really good call and a common question a lot of people have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the call, Jennifer. Rather than go to an email here, because I think we have limited time, what I wanted to talk to you about is you mentioned the letters after a name. How important is it to go to a licensed marriage and family therapist rather than perhaps maybe a life coach or someone who maybe isn't licensed in therapy?
Yeah, certainly there's about 5 major mental health professions, psychiatry, which are MDs that don't really do talk therapy, prescribe medication, and certainly many times, as that last caller, therapists are going to work hand in hand with MDs. You have clinical social workers, licensed clinical social workers, which are more than any of those in the country. You have counselors and psychologists. So you want to understand the disciplines. Again, marriage and family therapist, biggest difference, as we've said, they're going to see you through strength and health and in all of your context. Even if you have a diagnosis, they're going to look for supportive health factors, and they're going to be able to work relationally with you. So not just an individual plan, a family plan, or a couple plan. So if that is something that appeals to you, if you like thinking systemically, broader things, and that A doesn't cause B, that we're all interrelated and all these things bounce off each other to make these unique people and relationships, then a marriage and family therapist would probably be a good fit for you. And like anybody, whoever you go to, being licensed is important. It means that they've had training certainly during school and then after school as far as supervision, having their work monitored, passing tests. So wherever you go, you want to see a licensed professional, and licensed marriage and family therapists, LMFTs. Many fine LMFTs in Louisville, and you can get to them again by going to our website and checking out therapistlocator.net.
Therapistlocator.net, don't forget. And also want to give you a little bit of information here. Dr. Eli will be back next week, so if you couldn't get in this week, next week he'll be back for 2 segments, and we'll be opening up the phone lines, and you have that number. So we'll see you next week. Dr. Karam, see you next week as well.
See you, my friend.
All right. Dementia, it's real. If you have a loved one who may be losing a little bit of their memory, maybe not as sharp as they once were, I have a big recommendation for you. Coming up next, American Senior Communities. Ben is going to talk to us. We'll be right back on Wave 3 Listens, and we are live. The question I had for you before, when I was looking over my notes here, is there a difference between the cottage and Augustus College?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Saddle up for all the rodeo action at the North American Championship Rodeo. Louisville's Freedom Hall, November 13th through the 15th. It's the greatest show on dirt. Cowboys and cowgirls compete in rough stock and timed events, broncs, bulls, and beauties. And don't forget, Saturday night is Wave 3 and the Max Night. The first 400 kids get a free cowboy hat. Presented by Wave 3 and 102.3 The Max.
Wave 3 News and Kleinert and Coots are trying to spread the gloves, keeping the community warm. Here's how it works. We're collecting gloves, hats, and other winter clothing for area school districts in need and other charities. Now, you can drop off your donations at any Kleinert and Coots clinic, any area Zaxby's location, or any Sam Swope Auto Group dealership. For more information on Spread the Gloves, go to wave3.com and click on I Saw It on Wave 3 News tab. We encourage you to help spread the gloves and keep our community warm. All right, when it comes to important initiatives in this community, one of them involves senior care. If you have a loved one in your life, the question is, it always comes to what's best for them. And that's what American Senior Communities is all about. Ben Zabani is with us. He is the memory care facilitator at Riverview Village, and they are under the umbrella of American Senior Communities. Ben, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. And this is a delicate subject, but it's something that this is your expertise. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'm sure you'll handle them very well. First of all, the cottage. It's a very special part of Riverview Village. Tell everyone what the cottage is all about, man.
Well, what's differentiate Riverview Village compared to some of the facility in the area is that we have a specialized unit for patients with dementia and Alzheimer's. Our staff are trained to deal with patients and how to care for them. The cottage is pretty much more of social model than a medical model. With that said, is that we try to keep our patient at their best level of functioning as far mentally and physically, keep them upbeat. And our job in the facility is to continuously look for what's best for our patient.
See, I love hearing that. What's best for the patient, that's what it's all about. And I would think with dementia and any kind of memory loss or Alzheimer's, as you said, yes, there are different levels, of course. Everyone's in a different phase. So it seems to me, when I was reading about the cottage, a lot of it is to try to make them as self-sufficient as possible.
That's right.
So how do you handle the different phases of dementia or Alzheimer's?
Well, as far as handling, we just look at the patient. First of all, we need to, when the family is looking for placement, we need to find what's setting will best fit the patient. They might have diagnosed dementia, however, they will not fit best in the setting like a cottage or structural environment like the cottage. That's what the team at Riverview does, is we look, always work as a team to determine which setting will be best fit for every patient that is referred to us, working along with the family. Beside having, like I said, having the diagnosed dementia or Alzheimer's, we look at their level of participation in activity program. Since the cottage as a social model and mostly program based, there is a continuous activity occurring, and patient has to be able to participate even passively at our activity program and show that he or she is benefiting from the program that we offer. Also, we look at their level of assistance with care.
How much they need.
How much they need care, how much they need help with care, and how much they can do for themselves. That's the point of the cottage, is to help them, like I said, to preserve as much as possible skills they have, and they have to do what
sure, to be,
yes,
to be everyday life function, you know, to be self-sufficient. My question for you is, and I think I love what you said about participation, because sometimes as folks get older and unable to operate like they used to mentally, they tend to pull back. So they need to be stimulated.
Yes.
It's like you've got to keep activities in front of them to keep their mind active, and that's important. Participation is very important, right, Dan?
Yes, it's very important, and it's very important just to give them that quality of life. We as a team, we are trained on when we put the all come place is a whole component. When we put the activity program, we look at each patient individually and make a plan of care that's individualized for them, that's more personal. We look at all aspects of the patient, what they like, their habits, their hobbies, what they used to like, what's their routine in the morning. Are they early rise or they sleep in?
Their diet,
what they like, what they dislike. We look at all this, we try to gather all this information from the family. That will help us, like I said, to put a care plan that is more personal to that patient.
I love that.
Personal oriented to that patient.
Yeah, and I noticed, I was looking at some of the questions that you asked the family and the patient, and I think it's interesting because it goes all the way down to, not only favorite foods, but favorite television shows, favorite hobbies, because to keep one person stimulated will be totally different with what will keep another person stimulated. For instance, if I have a favorite show, you're going to make sure I get to see that show so that I'm happy.
Sure.
And if life is happy, that kind of snowballs. I want to participate. I want to make friends. I want to be more social. So I love this. Now, how does the process begin? If I have a loved one at home who is suffering maybe the initial stages of dementia, Ben, how do I get to Riverview? Who do I need to talk to? How does this work?
Well, you can talk, whoever have a patient at home and they think that they are not able to care for them at home. Keep in mind, patient with dementia require a lot of care, require a lot of structure. It involves safety, it involves a lot of caring. And they get to the point, and that happen. I mean, it's a hard decision to make. However, at point of time, it has to be made just for their safety, for the patient's safety.
For safety and happiness
and
reasons.
Happiness, of course. They can contact Riverview Village and talk with at 586 Eastern Boulevard, Clarksville, Indiana. Phone number is 812-282-6663. And they can talk with any member of the team, or especially we have our admission coordinator, Kaylin Stamler. She is our admission person. They can talk with her, and they can come in and tour the facility and meet with me, and we will show them our cottage, what we have to offer, and we help them through the process of the admission.
Ben, thank you very much. This is good information because, as you know, Riverview Village is unique. There's a lot of compassion there, but unique in that you don't want someone who is suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's going to just any senior care facility. With no offense to them, this is a special place, and certainly it's a process. And I know if you have a loved one who is in that type of condition, then of course you want the very best for them. So again, Riverview Village, American Senior Communities, we appreciate what you're doing at the cottage. Ben, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, we talked about him. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Songwriters Hall of Fame as well. James Taylor tickets. If you'd like to win them, hang in there. We'll be right back on Wave 3 Listens.